Thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made headlines in the last 7 days. I am Esther Mokwariola. This week made it 7 years since 276 Chibok girls were abducted by Boko Haram in Borno State, and despite efforts to secure their freedom, 112 remain unaccounted for. 7 years since it became a trend where authorities carefully ignore, subtly deny, hurriedly declare, then easily retract, as millions of Nigerians watch similar events unfold on auto-repeat. Now, call it a snub like no other, as that could best explain Jack Dorsey's decision to choose Ghana, with an entire population of 32 million people ahead of Nigeria's 39 million Twitter users. But Twitter's announcement that it will set up its first Africa base in Ghana has generated fierce online debate, bringing to mind the never-ending jollof rice rivalry between the two West African countries. We begin the show with a flashback to the night of April 14th, 2014, when Boko Haram militants invaded the government girls' college Chibok and kidnapped 276 girls, mostly aged between 16 and 18. Concerned citizens and civil society organizations are still appealing to relevant authorities to ensure the rescue of the remaining girls from their captors.
Nigeria's kidnapping crisis came to world attention in 2014 with the abduction of 276 girls from Chibok town in Borno State. The girls were preparing for their final year examinations when the insurgents attacked in the middle of the night. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign has since gained a voice following its campaigns for the release of the girls. It is 7 years after and not much has been achieved. The group says it is launching an Until All Are Free campaign to get the remaining girls out of captivity.
The thing is that we have a government that thinks that the people don't matter and Nigerian citizens are not important except when it is time to count our ballot papers. That's when our thumbprints matter.
In its 7 demands, the group asked the government to bring back the girls without further delay. They also call on the government to provide a comprehensive report on the status of all investigations, operations and missions to bring back the remaining 112 girls, and to also release the report by General Ibrahim Sabo.
Has become a symbol of a terrible sickness in our nation. We should face it. And as we face it, we'll be able to resolve a lot of other issues.
TVC News spoke with Rebecca Samuel, mother to Sarah Samuel, one of the girls still in captivity. She is still in grief. She tells me her daughter was 17 years old as at the time of the abduction, but will be 25 years old by December this year.
She said, let government double up their effort, even the same way they have secured the life of 107. Let them secure this also. It is not good.
There have been several other abductions where government had successfully engaged in negotiations to release the abducted. The Amnesty International report says over 640 students have been abducted between December 2020 and March 2021.
Now joining me for more analysis on this issue, I have in the studio TVC News Executive Editor Uzonna Ononye, and on Skype I'll be joined by Ulufemi Lawson, Public Affairs Analyst. Good to have you both on the program this evening. So let's begin with you now, Uzonna. 7 years down the line, what is the hope that the remaining girls will be released or freed, as it were?
The hope, with every passing day, the hope gets slimmer. Unfortunately, that's the reality. 7 years, other kidnaps are taking place of school children Some of them had been recovered or rescued, as the case may be. But this particular one of April 2014 had remained a very sore reminder of how far we have gone from respecting and honoring human life. I still remember vividly how that news broke, and it took 2 weeks before the government of the day accepted the fact that something like this had happened. And that 2 weeks gave the abductors enough time to get to wherever their destination was without any hindrance or interception by anybody. 7 years down the line, yes, that government is no longer there. The current government used that as a campaign promise that we will rescue every one of the girls. But unfortunately, that promise had been unkept 6 years down the line. And we are looking at parents of children, siblings to those ones that have been kidnapped, living in dark hope that they will ever find their loved ones again. I'm not sure how realistic their hope will be, but they will be seeking closure. It's difficult to just give up the thought that your child that you sent to school, you didn't see the dead body, so you can't confirm or conclude, oh, she has died. But you keep living every day remembering or imagining where your daughter is. It's quite painful.
Indeed, quite painful indeed for parents at this moment, families of loved ones who are expecting their children to be returned or found, as it were. Olufemi Lawson, I believe you're online right now, but let's get your thoughts on what this situation will mean for parents, how devastating it will be for them at this point. How would you react to this? All right, it seems we're yet to have a connection with our resource person online. Well, let me throw that question to you. Although you've mentioned earlier, that it's more like the families the hope for the families is kind of slim, but they are hoping for kind of closure. How do you think the families will be able to deal with this difficult period, even though the government, according to them, they feel that the government has abandoned them at this time? How do you think the parents can handle the situation?
The feeling of abandonment is understandable because after the 2014 kidnap, not less than 4 other kidnaps had taken place in schools. And so with each one that happens, the previous ones take back seat, for the current one to be addressed. And so it will get to a point where the parents of the Chibok children would no longer get the attention they think they deserve. So it's quite understandable. But the bigger challenge is that it seems with the series of abductions that have been taking place in schools, Boko Haram is an organization that is against Western education. And so while we celebrate or while we say that government or the troops or the armed forces have defeated Boko Haram continues to register successes in one way or the other, because as long as they keep kidnapping students and government respond by closing schools, because we are aware that many states in the north at some point shut down schools, and what it meant is a big score for the group that didn't want the schools to be open in the first instance. And so it's a very delicate situation that government has to be government somehow, because the people are, there's a limit to what the people can do in dealing with terrorists, so government has to find a solution to this problem as quickly as possible. If not, we'll be handing over the entire system to elements that are not friendly at all with what's going on in the country.
Now, while we wait for a solution, you mentioned earlier that, we've seen 7 years after, we've seen several abductions, although some have been freed and returned to their families and all of that. But what does this say about the level of attention given to the security of schools, particularly in volatile areas? What isn't done enough to secure our children who are sent to schools, particularly in the northern region?
it's not just about the northern region. It's about and it's not also just about the schools. It's about the entire system, the entire Nigerian country. What level of attention? How sensitive has we been? In this case, I say we because the armed forces, the soldiers we have in Nigeria, I'm not sure if the number is enough, and if they are well equipped in terms of technology to carry out their job in the way it requires in a digital era like we have. So to complement whatever they do lie in our hands. I mean, it's the responsibility of everybody. So I'm not sure how sensitive and responsive we have been to that task of protecting our lives without exalting ethnicity and religion over the real issues that concern the people. Because what we have seen over the years is when a huge challenge confronts the country, at each instance, people, turn it around, spin it around to assume an ethnic coloration and even religious coloration. And as soon as that happens, the focus that the issue should receive gets destroyed or scattered all over the place. And so all the efforts are no longer channeled or geared towards the same direction. What we have currently is a situation that is very, very dicey and delicate. Nobody is safe, because if we say, even if all the armed forces in Nigeria go to the schools and ensure that the schools are protected, what about the parents that are taking care of those children in school? So the issue of security of life of every citizen should be important to government and the people themselves to ensure that their lives are protected. I mean, it's a very dangerous situation that we have in our hands.
Absolutely dangerous, as you say. But what are the likely consequences of these incidents if it continues unchecked? What are the likely consequences in future? I'm really restraining myself from stating it the way it is, because if what we have presently continue unabated the way it's going, I am so afraid that there may not be any country left. Because if it continues, it means that one day we will wake up and discover that terrorists has overrun the whole place and taking over the whole place. But I mean, that would be very, very shameful for our generation, for failing ourselves and failing in protecting ourselves. Indeed, and let's hope it doesn't get to that point. Thank you very much, Uzonna, for bringing your thoughts on this rather delicate but sensitive matter. We appreciate your insight so far. But we still have him in the studio for more discussions. After this break, we'll be talking about 32 offices in 19 countries, and Ghana has been chosen as the African headquarters for the social media giant Twitter. Well, this has caused a stir on social media, and Nigerians have taken to the platform to voice their opinions. Now, Twitter's announcement that it will set up its first Africa base in Ghana has generated a fierce online debate. We have more in this report.
The news of tech giant Twitter having its headquarters in Ghana elicited mixed reactions from users of the social media application, both in Nigeria and Ghana. More like a tweet war. A trending hashtag, Twitter in Ghana, put all the reactions together, with the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, joining the fray with his welcome tweet. Many applauded the development. For example, the tweet here alludes to the fact that Ghana's choice of headquarters for Twitter wasn't about quantity, but about quality. Another tweet shows a picture of the NSAS protest and how Pigeon Jack saw everything. These and many more tweets show the level of happiness Ghanaians feel. Some social media users questioned the reason behind Twitter's decision. The social media giant replied saying, quote, "As a champion for democracy, Ghana is a supporter of free speech, online freedom, and the open internet, of which Twitter is also an advocate," end quote. A prominent Nigerian politician, Adamu Garba, had last year sued Twitter for supporting the NSAS protest, but he later withdrew the case. The development caused a debate on social media, with many blaming it on the president. Reacting to the development, Garba tweeted, quote, I pray Ghana would not allow their country to be used as the platform for their orchestration of nuisance on the African internet space. Nigeria is safer with the hypocrisy of Twitter. We shall have to improve on our methods for elimination of fake news on the information space. He went further to state that they just hate Nigeria because they know that the only country that can be the next African superpower, fully democratic, highly mobile population and good working age population is Nigeria. Twitter came to Ghana to target Nigerian market. They won't admit they need us, but we know, end quote. A member of the People's Democratic Party tweeted, another big L for Nigeria, who despite having the biggest active social media users, we got overlooked for Ghana. This is obviously because of the anti-business policies of APC and Buhari. Shameful. Social media influencer and presidential aide Tolu Ogunlesi, on his own part, tweeted that it's a great opportunity for Africa, citing the various African countries' tech giants situated their African headquarters. StatCounter figures show that nearly 59% of African internet users had Facebook accounts as of March 2021, compared with 11.75% who have Twitter. According to the World Bank data released in 2019 on the ease of doing business, Ghana ranked 118 compared with Nigeria's 131. This ranking means it's easier to do business in Ghana than in Nigeria. Many see this development as a sign of things to come if the ease of doing business ranking does not improve. Theophilus Ilama, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, I still have in the studio with me Uzona Onoye to bring his thoughts to bear. Unfortunately, we couldn't connect with our earlier resource person, Olufemi Lawson, to join us. But let's continue the show with you now, Uzona. So what do you make of this development, and how do you think this will affect the country's developmental growth, if I would say?
Twitter is a business concern that is looking for where to do business. Same way we have Unilever, we have Michelin, we have Dunlop. All these companies were in Nigeria before now, but certain harsh realities compel them to relocate their businesses out of Nigeria to Ghana. And so when Twitter decides to open their office in Ghana, some people would rather say it as a business decision that shouldn't have political undertone, because if the environment is suitable for their business, they would most likely have established, their office here. And so instead of attacking Twitter, I think that what would rather make more sense is to pay attention inward and find out those things that are frustrating businesses in Nigeria, or that are scaring away businesses that would have come to Nigeria to elsewhere. And when we address those things, it gives us a better competing environment. And then if subsequent actions do not come in our favor, then we'll have enough grounds to argue or to raise issues. If not, we should just swallow our pride and look for where to hide our faces, because Twitter's decision shouldn't be a political tool. Yes, it can have, yes, but more realistically is a business decision that we should think of how to make ourselves better qualified for.
Now, in as much as you say it is a business decision from Twitter, the Information Minister, Lai Mohammed, clearly stated that this is purely Nigerians being unpatriotic. He blamed the Twitter's decision, rather, on Nigerians being unpatriotic, citing the NSAS protests, among other issues that put the country in spotlight in the past few months or so. But do you agree with this submission, even though you have rightly put out that it's purely a business plan? Do you think perhaps this might also have a little bit of connotation to what the
number of people that use Twitter in Nigeria, I don't have the exact number compared to Ghana, but considering our population compared to Ghana, again, population-wise, I can say that we have far more number of people in Nigeria that patronized Twitter. And the fact that it was a tool or a platform that drove the NSAS campaign is not against Twitter or against the people. However, did we, when I say we, I mean us as a people, did we smear our country? To an extent, yes, we did. Because when nothing good is said about the country, when everything that is out there in the public domain is negative, we smeared our country somehow. However, was there a situation that warranted the reaction of the people? Whether it was an overreaction or not is a different consideration. But was there a situation? Yes. And so it will be important to address those situations that generate the kind of reaction that turned to be negative for the country. When the cases of police brutality and extrajudicial killing by the police were being reported, the hierarchy of authority were silent. They were silent because maybe it didn't really concern them, or they didn't really feel the pain of the people that bear the brunt of the action and excesses of the men in uniform. And so when the people now began to react, we see that reaction only, forgetting that there was a fundamental problem that gave rise to that reaction. So the day we want to take a look at all of this, we better take a holistic look at it all instead of pointing out one and ignoring the other, because that's what created the problem. People were being killed, and police will tell you then, I can't say whether it's still the same now, then they will tell you, I will shoot you and nothing will happen. And they will keep their word, shoot, and nothing happens. And so when the people had had enough of all of that and then began to react, yes, it could have been managed differently. But when you consider the age we are in, it's no longer an age where information can be controlled, strictly like it used to be. When you consider the age we are in and the age group of the people that are involved in that process, you wouldn't expect anything less than what we had.
Quite dicey. But, is it too late to turn the tide for Nigeria to become the cynosure of all eyes?
We still have all the time in the world to do that. I say all the time in the world, not because other countries will sit back and be waiting for you, but we still have the time to take certain critical decisions and that is if we have the political will to enforce. The ease of doing business debate had been on the table for years. And up till this moment, small businesses are still struggling. Small businesses are still struggling to get registered. They are still struggling to have access to credit. They are still struggling. Yes, government has, programs or products that they are using to empower little businesses. But go and try and access them and see how difficult it is. So all of these things are the things that make business difficult, or doing business difficult in Nigeria. Until we address them. What about the power situation? Most of these companies rely on power, but they spend half of their, the money they would have used for production on generating power for themselves. And when the business begins to suffer, they start to look for alternatives, which may mean taking the business out of Nigeria. So we still have the time, if we have the political will, to address all of these issues. Once we address them, let's now see if any reasonable company or business wouldn't be interested in tapping into the huge population we have in Nigeria and locate their businesses here instead of going elsewhere.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Thank you very much, Uzonna Onoye, TVC News Executive Editor. It's a pleasure, as always, to have your thoughts.
My pleasure.
On the program. And that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website, tvcnews.tv. Until the next one again, I am Esther Omapariola. Bye for now.